Welcome to the Focus Cast.
Episode 102.
Today we're talking about some goals,
That's right.
Some
and physicality.
Let's get physical. And what was the other thing?
We're going to surprise ourselves by talking a little bit about the Mongolian warriors and horses and how we can relate that to Susie in a meeting.
Nice. Very nice. I like that.
It's going to be a fun day today. So let's,
Hop in.
yeah. Sweet. What's your name?
Jonathan Noel.
And I'm Brian Noel.
This is the Focus Cast.
Where we help
Reduce distractions
increase focus.
so we can live our life with intentions.
That's right. Understanding free will.
It changes things, huh?
Yeah, you can live whatever life that you want, and I'm not judging.
Yeah.
We're going to talk a little bit about judgment today. We'll start talking about goals.
There we go.
So here's how this came up, bro.
All right.
I was I had a post for Instagram,
Okay.
and for some reason, last night, I was just thinking, there was a football game on, and I was listening to a book. So I have the football game on zero because I'm not as interested in the football game, but I like to watch it. But I can't just watch it.
Right.
I have to do something else. So
Right.
I'm listening to a book. It's a really good book by Stanislav Grof, psychiatrist from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. But anyway, that's another story. And I was just thinking about, man, you know, as my perspective has changed, my mind has changed, my body is changing, all these things are changing. I was like, my goals have really changed. My framework and how I set goals is changing.
And that makes sense.
Yeah.
As your viewpoint expands, you kind of have a different idea of where you'll want to go.
Yeah.
So,
So, you know me. I've been a goal-oriented human being for a long time.
I remember I saw your book. I must have been in my early 20s, and you showed me your book with like the 5-year plan.
Yeah.
And this was so alien to me, the thought of having like a multi-year written out.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like, by the way, for the listeners, it wasn't just a page that said in 5 years, I want this.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a book full of the steps to get there, and then 1 year plan, 2, yada, yada. I was like, holy shit, bro.
While some people had a black book of hookups,
Yeah.
I had a black book of businesses and ideas and strategies. Because I was already married, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I think I was either most memorable or most likely to succeed. It must have been most memorable that I was voted in high school.
Really? You got one of those?
Yeah.
Damn, look at you. That's awesome.
I think it was the trench coats and the spray painted combat boots that
Most
I got from
likely-
the Army surplus store.
Most likely it'd end up on the news award.
Yeah. Oh, I remember that guy. So anyway, I've had a lot of goals, and I've always had. We've talked about this a lot now. So for me, I lived in the future.
Right.
Disassociation.
Right.
So I lived in the future, but I had low-level anxiety that I wasn't doing enough in the present. So it's natural for someone like that in that state to constantly have
Right.
written down very well executed visions of the future.
Right.
That was how I could
we've hit this
somewhat
before.
control. Yeah.
We've hit this before. Live in the future causes anxiety. Live in the past usually
Depression.
causes depression.
Yeah.
And so you dealt with your anxiety by having a very detailed, thought out plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of those things didn't work.
It was never really about them working. It was something to make you feel okay.
Yes, that's exactly right. I just needed to feel safe. And the
Exactly.
only way I felt safe was to have a plan.
Was to have a 5-year plan.
And it naturally it evolved.
Yeah, of
Because it
course.
never was the today plan.
Yeah.
It was always the future plan.
Yeah, that's I just everything's going to change so much. Is there, can you actually dream of something and it be the exact same as you thought of it in 5 years from now?
I mean, maybe a few people.
Without deviation?
I don't know. I mean, maybe we can ask Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Maybe
He saw it.
But I would assume he would agree that the path to get there has definitely been a little rocky. Rocket. Anyway, So that's a great segue, bro.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what my goals used to look like,
Right.
even for this
A
podcast.
slightly manic, borderline obsessive way to feel safe and write it all out.
Yeah.
And that's what you needed, and that's totally fine.
That's what I needed. And what's crazy about that is in the business community, anyone who bumped into me respected that. They're like, damn, you got a great plan. You're going to make it. But they didn't realize, and I didn't realize, that that plan was just based on needing safety because of my anxiety. So, before we compliment someone's great plans,
Roast them for I'm just kidding.
Roast
I'm
them
totally
first.
kidding. Ask them if they're okay.
yeah.
That's what you should do.
Yeah. Man, I really like this plan.
Are you all right?
you okay?
How have
What
you
if-
been feeling lately?
What if it doesn't work? It's going to work. So this is how I am deciding to approach goal setting in the future.
Okay.
All right, so this is what I wrote on my Instagram. That's what I'm reading. That's why I'm holding my phone right now. So I said, though the work is hard, the goals have reduced in complexity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I got to have some nice little statement to set it up.
Oh, of course.
Anyway, so the goal for the mind, my goal for the mind is to work on and increase presence and observation without judgment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You want to be present in this. There's this thing called love,
Yeah.
where you can have love for people without judging them.
Yeah, that's new for me.
Yeah. So.
And new for myself, too.
Oh, absolutely.
Observation of self and observation of the world without judgment. Just observing.
The amount of compassion you can have for others is usually an indicator for how much you have for yourself.
Boom.
I'm just saying. It's hard to have it for others if you don't have it for yourself.
Damn right, bro.
So it's kind of a barometer. So
Yeah.
if you can cultivate and start to love yourself, and typically that goes to the people around you because you can empathize with what's going on in their life.
Yeah. Man, that's
So.
good. I think that's a Buddhist meditation principle.
Okay.
The observation without judgment. So I was listening to this book, and this is all new to me, right? So someone might be like, that wasn't Buddhist, that was this, and that's fine. Because I've read a lot of books, so now I'm just pulling principles. I don't know where from. But I'm not judging. That's what I'm not doing. Anyway, but they talked about it, and they said step one is to be able to, in meditation and the levels of meditation, step one is to, you have these judgments come up and these emotions are attached to judgments. And first just observe them. Just like, oh man, like you're really frustrated or whatever. Just observe it. And then you start progressing into this phase where you can observe it without judging it.
Right.
You're angry. You shouldn't be angry. No.
No. You say,
you're angry.
this is just a thing that's happening. Doesn't define me. It's not who I am.
Yeah. Just look at it.
I am not an angry person. I'm a being experiencing anger
Yes.
at the moment.
At the moment. And then when you're not judging it, you have the opportunity to actually observe it and see where it's coming from.
Yeah.
Which then helps you process it and go below it.
Because you're not stuck in the minutia.
Yeah. You're not stuck in the emotion of it.
Right.
I remember one time my wife and I were a little aggravated at each other. Quick caveat before I tell this story. So, they talk about the honeymoon phase. For people, it's like beautiful for the first 3 years and 5 years, and then it just kind of gets worse and worse and worse. That's how some people describe marriage.
Right.
My wife and I, our marriage has been the opposite. We hated each other for the first 3 to 5 years, and then now we love each other more than ever.
That's wonderful.
So it went backwards. But
That's better.
what I realized is marriage is a mirror, and I hated myself. But anyway, there was one time that she made me mad, or if I say it correctly, she was a mirror in which
You.
boiled up some anger that I had
For yourself.
from my past.
Yeah.
And I remember I punched a hole in the wall and then turned around and roundhouse kicked the fridge.
I saw it in my head as you described it because it was that little apartment.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but what was so great about the whole experience was the second I did that, I was like, oh, I feel better, but now I got to fix this hole. I mean, it was a release.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
And you got to get out of the house, go to Home Depot and buy some.
Yeah, that patch, I was not good at patchwork. You could see that spot for a long time.
I was
So,
like, yeah, never mind.
that's mind, presence plus observation without judgment.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the two goals. Be present, observe without judgment.
Mm-hmm.
The body goal. You ready for this?
Yes.
This is really coming from 2 years of talking about focus in the body from our podcast.
Yeah.
But serotonin balance, which I read a book called Hacking of the American Mind that talks about the dopamine addiction
Yeah.
and how we are all addicted to cheap highs that dopamine has for
The
us.
stimulation, the nonstop
Yes.
stimulation.
Which offsets our serotonin.
Yeah.
And again, there's a lot more science and details to that. So if anyone is in that space,
Yeah.
this
Check out
is-
Huberman Lab. We're not.
Yeah. This is obviously
It's
my goal, general goal. But dopamine detox and serotonin reset. That's the goal this year.
nice.
Through the food I eat, the toxins I do not
That's
eat.
pretty specific.
Yeah.
But a diet exercise overhaul is going to do like a full hormone reset for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you can be like those enlightened yogis who just sit there and look like they're stoned all the time.
I have to stop getting stoned to get stoned.
There's different levels of being stoned on.
And then the next is parasympathetic nervous system balance.
Yeah.
So fear and all that stuff really strikes the sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight, triggers that amygdala, makes it fat and
Yeah.
horny. And then you're just living in a fear, fight, flight, or fawn state.
Yes.
And but the parasympathetic nerve is sleep and peace
And healing.
and healing and all
Yeah.
that stuff.
And your body can take care of its functions. And
Some people say that the parasympathetic nervous system is how we access the greater power.
interesting.
Yeah.
It definitely is easier to think and articulate and work through things when
Yeah.
you're not in fight or flight.
Yeah.
If you can engage the parasympathetic nerve or that whole system, yeah, it's a different experience.
I even read somewhere, and I looked it up, in the first 10 articles, some of those being med journals. So based on my very quick pass through of this, that you can't have fear and creativity or fear and curiosity at the same time.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's two different parts of the brain. So when fear is at all-time high,
I just know if my amygdala is engaged and that fear state is there, I'm not thinking about a cool guitar chord progression or creative things.
Yeah.
It's just not even
yeah,
a consideration at that point.
yeah.
So
How sad is it that people in their relaxed state use their creativity to create things that cause fear so other people can't access their creativity? That's kind of tragic.
it almost seems like if you were doing it on purpose,
Yeah.
it'd be to keep people in a...
In a fear state? Wow, what dicks. Oh, yeah, that's right. We're supposed to cuss less this year. Sorry, Mom. Listen to episode 101 for that if you want the background. So, yes, that's the body goal.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, not like I want to weigh this much, I want to lift this much, I want to, no crazy data, no nothing. I just want to learn about the serotonin and the parasympathetic nervous system, and I want to learn more about it, and I want to do things in my life that balance those out. That's
Right,
it.
because that's basically where meditation starts.
Yeah.
A little bit of breath work to disengage the amygdala, activate the parasympathetic, so you can actually sit there instead of thinking about the world ending.
Yeah.
You can be relaxed, and that's pretty much where it starts. That's like the baseline.
Man.
Yeah.
Well, I do have something to talk about later in the episode, and I think I hit my first baseline of meditation.
Oh.
And I'm going to talk about the products that I purchased that helped me get there. Listen, for those of you who struggle with meditation, you might want to try this. I'll talk about that later.
All right.
right, so that's mind, body, and soul.
Okay.
So soul is just curiosity and creativity.
Mm-hmm.
That's my goals. How do I measure that? I'll talk about metrics in a minute, but that's where I'm focused for my soul.
I like that.
Curious. I'm just going to keep reading. I've read a lot of books in the past month and a half, and just keep being creative.
Yeah.
But creative without expectations, right? Like, I got to create a post for Instagram that gets enough views for us to get a sponsor.
Nope.
Nope.
Sounds terrible. That sounds like torture.
Yeah, that sounds like the sympathetic nervous system. So just be creative. We made some music. We're going to throw that music out in the world and see what happens.
Worst case scenario, we get to listen to it on Spotify, and that's way easier than going to Google Drive because their interface is horrible.
Yeah.
And using Google Drive is terrible in general, and it makes me not like Google.
Yeah.
Actually, I didn't really like them anyway because they steal all our data, but and record everything, and they're basically an extension of the NSA, but that's a whole nother thing. So anyway, what's next, bro?
And one opportunity, even we get to enjoy it, but I will say I'll have a little bit of a self-pride moment when I get to send a Spotify playlist of music that we wrote to my friends.
Yeah.
That's going to be cool. I've never done that before.
It's going to be a new one.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. So that's mind, body, soul. How am I going to measure progress? What are my milestones? Right?
Yeah.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Embrace pain plus self-grace. So what does that mean for me? So embrace pain. Mentally, as I worked through some trauma this past year, there's been some pain involved, some uncomfortable times.
Yep. That working through trauma tends to do that.
Yeah. So this year, I shared on the last last episode, I will be continuing to embrace pain in the mental, in the mind, but also adding embracing pain in the body.
Right. We're adding physical goals into this year because we've never had really true physical goals.
Yeah.
I've never done it either.
Yeah.
We talked about that in the whole last episode.
Yeah.
So.
And then self-grace. So when I don't want to experience pain and I just want to take a break and I just want to relax and eat a ham sandwich and watch football, I'm going to do that. And I'm not going to sit there and go, well, you could be doing this. You could be working on your sales strategy. You could be planning for the next podcast. You could be blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to sit there and enjoy my ham sandwich and watch a football game.
Yeah. So you're not taking the David Goggins approach. I'm just kidding.
No, I'm not.
I think that's totally fine. You have to be, I mean, honestly, that's the self-care piece too, a little bit, and self-compassion.
I don't think he races every day.
No. His off days are like just a quick 7-mile run.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty awesome.
But the point is some of the trauma stuff, like pulling that up and dealing with it, sometimes you just need some comfort.
Yeah.
It's that simple. It's not only work.
Yeah.
So
sometimes
you just want a ham sandwich at 2 a.m. and
yeah. Watch something.
some chocolate.
So I saw a graph that I thought was pretty cool on the Insta, and this guy was like, it feels up and down linearly, but really it's up and down with an upward projection, right? If you keep doing the work, like for
It's
us.
just like a stock. It's just like a stock. That's
Yeah, over our past
the
30
overall
years.
trend. The 200-day moving average is up.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it goes up every day.
No.
Might have a couple of 5 to 8% swings.
Yeah. Occasionally a 20% swing.
Occasionally.
But that's an up and down swing too.
Yeah.
So, but collectively, average, we going up, bro.
Exactly.
We going up.
Yeah. It's not a straight line.
Nope. All right, you know what my finish line goal is?
What's that?
It's blank.
Ooh, mysterious.
Yeah. That was so intentional.
To be continued.
There is no finish line.
Right. It's a state of mind.
Yeah.
Right? Growth is the point.
Yeah.
If you're trying to grow, is there a finish line?
No. There'll be little mini finish lines along the way when we make it across the line of that 365-mile race that we're doing in August.
Yeah.
When I did a cold shower this morning, it was probably the coldest shower of the year, and I did it. That was a little mini finish line.
Yeah, totally.
I finished my ass right out of that shower.
Because you were up, you had to wake up at 2 a.m. for something.
Yeah.
You didn't get much sleep.
Yeah.
Taking the cold shower is one thing when you feel great, but when you're tired and it's like super early, it makes it really hard to hop in that water. You just really ask yourself, am I stupid? Or is this like, what is the point of this?
A long hot shower. This morning I was just like, what do you want? I was like, I want a long hot shower. And my wife got a little speaker that goes in the shower. Mm-hmm. And at first I was kind of like making fun of her for it. And then I turned on some music while I was in the shower. And I was like, this is the greatest thing I've ever had in my life. You remember the rich mansions from the TV shows from the 80s and 90s when they had a phone in the shower? Like a corded phone in the shower? Because apparently the guy was so busy, he'd take a phone call in the shower.
Why would anyone agree to that?
I don't know. He probably used it more for phone sex than he did for business calls. Let's be honest.
I'm in the shower. Yeah, I know. I can barely hear you.
Oh, that's funny. Real quick, completely off topic story. But today's earpods are the 80s shower phones. So I would have people in my life that would get on earpods, and it was a terrible experience for me because it was loud and obnoxious. And I would just get so annoyed. So I would just say, I can't hear you. I don't think your earpods are connected. And they'd be like, are they working now? And I'm like, no. What about now? I can't really hear you. And then they would take them off and talk to me with the phone. And I'd be like, okay, yeah, I can hear you now.
Smart.
Sometimes I just don't want to hear your fucking background noise.
Oh my gosh. And the earpods just, it's like they turn the gain. It's like the gain is way up.
Yeah.
So all you hear is background noise, especially if they're outside.
Oh my gosh. So anyway, funny story.
It's like you're talking to someone on their earpods, right?
Yeah.
And they close a cabinet when it sounds like you just closed the cabinet on your eardrum.
Yeah.
Like your ear is inside the wood getting smashed.
Because my phone's all pressed up against my ear with it turned all the way up trying to hear them.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
No.
As a 41-year-old,
Just not dealing with it.
I'm not doing that.
So everyone's got to have their limits and their lines. You know, you got to draw the line
That's
somewhere.
my boundary.
You got to have a boundary.
Yeah. Until those things
Sound better?
Yeah, I'm not doing it.
Honestly, whoever uses those.
You about to judge? You about to judge, bro?
Go
20% of our audience.
think about some alternatives. Go find an alternative.
I still walk around the park with my wired ears in. I do have a Bluetooth set, but
I get it. They're convenient.
yeah. All right, so that's
moving on.
Yeah, goals, man. That's how my goals have changed from the past, however long, to now. Yeah, it feels better already. I feel
like
less
that.
stressed.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I like that. You know, I've never had goals. I don't know if we wanted to talk about that.
How do you live? That's so foreign to me.
I've never really had goals. I have like here and there.
What's an example? How old are you?
34.
What's an example of a 34-year-old's here and there goal?
Well, when I wanted to get the 107, Part 107 drone license,
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I want to do this. I'm going to study for the test. And I did. And it was fine.
Nice.
So it was a little mini goal.
I like
But I've
that.
never had big goals.
Yeah. Do you have goals now?
Not really. No, it's not necessarily, for me, I think it's more the mindset,
Yeah.
the growth,
Yeah.
embracing that daily.
Yeah.
And then the things just kind of happen. If you feel like you want something and you just do it, sure.
Yeah.
Why not? I don't know. This may be something that needs to change.
Maybe.
But we're doing the physical goal, like our 357-mile
true.
bike ride.
That's the biggest goal physically I've ever had in my life.
Same.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of volatile when you start like wanting to just grow and evolve.
Yeah,
That it's like now I have even less of a reason to
that's true. Yeah,
set goals. No, I don't know.
yeah.
We need someone, a psychiatrist or something, or what is it? What is
Psychologist
We need a psychologist or someone to help flush it out. So like,
or a psychiatrist.
what does that mean that I never set goals?
Well, it's funny because
Because I don't want to fail. You know,
maybe.
if you don't set them, you don't fail.
Yeah, that might be the case for some people for sure.
Yeah, that's probably
Preemptively strike a failure.
yeah. If you don't set them, you can't fail. You can't fail something you never tried.
Yeah, that's true.
It's pretty straightforward, actually.
Yeah,
So it's probably mostly that.
yeah. But I was talking to a business friend the other day, and he said, "Man, where you at?" And I said, "Well, honestly, I've got a physical goal this year, but business-wise, I just don't care. Like, as long as I can be curious and creative, I mean, I'm going to do stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm going to work. And I'm going to see things through. But for the first time, I just don't care if they work or not. You know? I want to provide for my family, obviously.
Of course.
I like to be able to buy things when I want them. Who doesn't?
Mm-hmm.
But outside of that, whatever.
Yeah. And
Whatever.
Not having goals doesn't mean I'm not doing anything either,
Yeah.
obviously.
True.
Like, it's not.
Hey, you posted that picture on your Instagram. Physically, you've been doing some things in the last 5 or 7 years.
Yeah, that has been a lot. The now and then.
The now and then.
They're then and now.
Yeah, go check out, was it John Zilla 9? John Zilla 9? Is that your Insta?
Well, that was just a story, so I should post it on my
Yeah,
timeline.
it's pretty great. Anyway. All right, so physical. Now, that's the goals setting. That's how
Okay.
they've changed over 2 years and some of the craziness that the new conclusions based on all the work that we've been doing mentally and for me personally.
Yeah, the broader viewpoint
Yeah,
that
so
you've achieved.
now physical. So we wanted to ride 30 miles the other day. It was pouring down rain. All the trails were closed. So we said, well, we'll just go hike for 5 hours because that's how much time we had. And we filled our bags. I need my wife's dumbbell back, by the way. Is that in the truck?
Yes.
Sweet. She's like, now I'm gonna have to work out with 15-pound weights. And she did.
Nice. I helped.
Yeah, you did. So we put a bunch of weight in our bags, anywhere between 20 and 30 pounds, and we just walked for 5 hours.
Yeah. And you know what? I thought for some people they're going to be like, okay, that's a nice warm up.
Yeah.
That's cute.
Yeah.
And that's fine. And it's not like it destroyed me.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was really tired afterwards.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because it was 45 degrees and it was raining. So it was like, as soon as you stop moving, you realize how cold and wet it was. So I don't know if I was burning more energy to stay warm or something.
Yeah.
But I felt like it took more energy than it should have because I've done 14-mile hikes.
Yeah.
And I was tired.
Yeah.
But this like sucked it out of me
Yeah.
in a different kind of way. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It was pouring rain for the first 2 to 2.5 hours.
And it was 45 degrees.
Yeah, it was chilly.
Yeah.
And we had to move to stay warm.
Yeah. As soon as we stopped for a snack and some water, I remember at 5 minutes, I'm like, yeah, let's keep going because this is like, not moving sucks more than moving.
But it felt great. For me, that's the first time I did extended exercise in the rain. And back to just how good it felt in all of me.
Yeah.
Like it felt so good to be out in the rain, in the woods, just moving.
Yep. Absolutely.
I don't know why.
There's lots of reasons. Because of movement, because of being in nature.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
acid rain.
The acid rain helps. Being in nature is healing.
Yeah, big time.
So.
Oh, you want to hear something crazy I saw
that?
the other day?
What's that?
That we actually could get enough energy that we needed to sustain ourselves from grounding in the trees.
Whoa.
We could reduce our food intake significantly and be completely actually more nourished if we spent more time in the woods. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know if it's science backed. I just saw the video.
Sounds like some TikTok. I'm just kidding. There's a thing called breatharian.
Yeah.
People who basically don't eat. They just drink water.
Breatharian.
Yeah, breatharian.
Breatharian.
Of course, for some people listening, I'll be like, that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard.
I just want to meet someone who is a breatharian.
I mean, I listened to a podcast, and the woman, she wasn't trying to sell it. She was basically like, I don't think most people should ever do this. It's for very select few. So there's no Ponzi scheme here. There's no money in it.
Yeah, it's really hard to sell.
She's not
don't
really
consume.
Yeah, exactly. She's not really looking for too much attention, it seems like. But yeah, basically you're whatever, spiritually evolved enough to where you don't have to eat anymore.
That's crazy.
Because you get enough energy from the sun and breathing and water.
Wow.
So
That's cool.
I don't know if she's doing like Ironman competitions and
Yeah.
what are those things called? Like the Spartans.
And, yeah.
But
Zombie
and
race.
triathlons. I don't know if you can do triathlons and just live off of breathing, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Check it out. Whatever.
Yeah. So I hired a personal trainer.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 days a week, I'm doing more weights and learning new stretches and doing some of that work to offset being on the bike so much and only working the same muscles on the bike.
Yeah.
So I know that my back typically starts hurting first when we do those long rides with a lot of rocks.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got to strengthen the core and other parts of the body.
Yep.
So I started that, and I just did a quick 30-minute meet the trainer session last week.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just showing me a couple things, and I couldn't walk for 3 days, barely. I was penguining around.
That's awesome.
So that's a good sign.
Yeah.
And that was my legs, too.
Yeah.
My legs are
Which
strong.
You thought you were, strong in some ways.
Yeah, so.
That's me in martial arts.
Yeah.
Like my legs are strong in certain ways, mountain biking.
Yeah.
You get into some of these stances and you're like, you start doing that chicken shake. They start shaking,
Yeah.
wobbling real quick. And you're like, oh, how could I do this?
I wonder if that's how that song, The Wobble, was written. Dude just did a really hard workout.
Dude, how does the wobble song go?
I forgot.
Oh, is that wobble, wobble,
Wobble me, wobble me, wobble, wobble me, wobble. Yeah.
But the point is yes, it's not just going to be cycling because we want a more well-rounded physical, like just being more physically adept all around.
Yeah.
So that doesn't mean only biking.
Well, the trainer said too, like doing just traditional leg exercises like squats and all that kind of stuff. The stronger your muscles are, the less they use the tendons.
The tendons?
The tendons and
That's great.
All that stuff.
So then hopefully my knee will stop
Yeah.
making that interesting feeling.
So we're just gonna keep it going. So that's
Yeah.
added that to the routine.
Nice.
Maintaining our cold plunges. My wife got me one of those portable cold plunges.
Yeah.
Which I didn't really use in the summer because I don't want to buy ice all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't have a cold pump. But I tell you what, man, when it's 20 or 30 degrees outside and I just fill that joker up the night before and let it sit all night and jump in there in the morning,
That's hardcore.
that stuff's cold.
I bet.
I'm just in the backyard playing
Yep.
side of the neighbors
Yep.
out there
Yep.
feeling like
Just that wild man with that white chest and all that hair. They look out there and they're like, what is that thing?
yeah. What is that?
What the fuck is that?
Why is he getting into a small little bath in the back? How redneck is that? I got a little bath, a little circle bath in the backyard.
Yeah. Like, shower's broken.
Just out there washing my hair.
No, it's great.
Yeah.
It's great. I want to be able to do physically. First off, I want to be able to do things
Yeah.
for a long time.
Yeah.
Still active in the 80s, 90s, basically till I die. And then able to do some of these things that felt, I wouldn't say impossible, but that just felt like, how can people do that?
Yeah.
like 5 years ago. Like, how do you run? How do you do a triathlon? Because I'm not a great swimmer.
Yeah.
So things that felt overwhelming.
Yeah.
But I reached that point where it's like, oh, I can do that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's going to be easy,
But you can do it.
but I can do it.
Yeah.
Reaching that point where you can kind of just tackle physically most things.
I got a good story there, bro.
What's that?
I was at this event this past weekend, and these two military dudes were there.
Yeah.
I know they were military because one of them had United States Marine Corps tattooed.
Yeah, that usually is an indicator.
Yeah, you don't do that unless you,
don't,
are
or else you're going to get
your ass
called
kicked.
out. Yep.
Yeah. And one of the guys was like you know those Instagram photos of like these men coming out of the water.
Yeah.
And you look at them and you're just like, damn, that man, what a man.
Sure. Yeah.
That happens to me sometimes. I'm just like,
You're like, well, what a beefcake?
yeah, yeah. Like,
It's from It's Always Sunny. My It's Always Sunny fans. Yeah.
I tell people I love men because I want to be one day. So anyway, this guy was a man's man. Super nice guy. Anyway, so we had a break and I was just talking. They were talking to each other and I just kind of interjected myself and I was like, what do you guys do physically? And they both I'm talking millisecond response, no thinking at all. And they just said everything. And I was just like, that's badass.
It's badass because you want to reach that point where you're versatile.
Yeah, just everything. They said run, bike, climb,
All
all
of it.
these races, swim. They do it all.
That's great.
Nonstop. Mm-hmm. So
I'm into it.
yeah,
That's where I want to be.
me too.
To where, for me, it's core. My core is weak.
Yeah.
And I can't sit down and knock out 100 push-ups in a row, if I'm being just totally honest right now. I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
So get some of that good old-fashioned PT and and pull-ups.
Yeah.
These dudes who just hop up the bar and do like 20 pull-ups like it's nothing.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, and I weigh less now than I have since high school.
Yeah.
Or wait, I weigh the same now as I did back then.
Yeah.
I gained weight and I lost it. But pull-ups are still
Yeah.
so definitely got some areas to work on.
Heck
The
yeah.
legs are pretty strong. The core is definitely, I've been avoiding core forever
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's notoriously the lamest, not lamest, it sucks.
Yeah.
Let's
it
be
does.
real. So I've been avoiding it. So
Yeah.
yeah, core, upper body.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Last thing. You ready?
Okay.
The Mongolian horse.
Okay.
So I've been reading and I've allowed into my consumption stories because I've been reading a lot of history. More like history of consciousness, history of religion, just the history and philosophy, like the evolution of mankind and war and all that kind of stuff. So seeing the development of war and how people do things, all that kind of stuff was kind of interesting. So I started reading about the Mongolians, the Mongolian War, and the Mongolian horses. And I think we're going to do a little deep dive on this in the future because I'm really fascinated by it. But I just got a couple quick, awesome things that I read the other day.
Let's hear
Thing
it.
one, have you heard of the Mongolian horse?
No.
Well,
I've heard of Mongolian beef.
I wonder if that's made of horses. Just kidding, beef. So they could travel 60 to 100 miles a day, these warriors.
Okay.
One thing that I've learned about working with businesses and founders for a long time is businesses tend to, fear of confrontation prohibits them from firing bad employees.
Right.
And so bad employees stick around and their energy sucks.
Yeah.
And they're reducing efficiency and output. So the A players or the good employees have to make up for that. And
Yeah.
they become overworked.
Yes.
And then they burn out and quit.
Yeah, I've had some experience with this.
Yeah. Which one were you? The A player or the...
Or the one firing? No, the A player.
I know. Just
Yeah.
kidding. We work very hard in our
I've
family.
had some experience being lazy and watching all the A players work hard.
So, but one thing that I read about these warriors is they had, when they were going on these very focused, whatever they would call them then for them, battles, whatever. Campaigns, yeah. They would have 4 to 6 horses per person, and they spent time with their horses because that's how they would hunt. That's how they would travel naturally. So they naturally were just great horsemen. But they would have several horses, and they loved their horses. And so then they knew how to not burn out their horses. And so they strategically used these horses to be able to do that 60 to 100 miles in a day. Another thing I read that was pretty cool is their intake into becoming a warrior. So, of course, me and my business brain, I'm like, one thing that businesses really struggle with is hiring and onboarding.
Right.
I've seen people go a month without even having a computer. They're just sitting there.
And they're getting paid.
They're getting paid.
Yep.
So, but anyway, I'm kind of having, I didn't serve, so a lot of this stuff is just interesting for me from an outside perspective.
Yeah.
I didn't have that experience in life. So it's pretty cool to, I can only read and kind of attach it to what I'm familiar with.
Yeah.
Which is business stuff. But last thing I'll say that I thought was really, really cool is one of their strategies is they would go appear as if they were about to engage in battle, look scared, retreat. Well, their opposition would chase them, but they were just toying with them.
Setting up the trap.
Yes, they would let them chase them. They would go just fast enough to where they couldn't catch them, but fast enough to where they had to chase them for long enough where they would tire out. And then they would circle them, shoot them with a bunch of arrows, and then run in with the big dogs in close proximity, just absolutely destroy them.
Massacre.
Yeah. And I love that idea because it's like we burn out never retreating, never retracting, never pruning. So the principle that I took from that, even though it was very strategic on their behalf, is sometimes we feel like we always have to look our best and present our best and appear as if we're in our best form as a business. Yeah, we've grown, we've done this, we're growing. Sometimes we might need to retreat, retract, prune.
To reposition. Or to spring a trap.
So, anyway.
So you can slaughter the competition.
Damn right. That's all I got, bro.
I think I'm done.
All right. Bye.